Touch wood, South Africa's government of national unity has survived 2025. Hooray! But the tested national coalition between two of the country's most devout enemies, the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance, has certainly the war wounds to show for it. And senior parliamentary correspondent Jan Gerber has borne witness to most of these GNU trials and tribulations. He joins me now to reflect on the year that was.
To know when the next episode drops, hit the like, follow and subscribe buttons on our YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcast channels.
A special and genuine thanks to each and every one of you for listening, commenting and sharing the lead on News 24 this year. With more than 150 episodes under our belt so far and broadcasting 4 times a week, that's Monday to Thursday, our show's racked up around 900,000 listens thus far. With our shared pursuit of quality journalism, we can continue to tell the South African story in truly unique ways in 2026. Happy holidays, look after yourself please, buckle up and avoid drinking and driving. My name's Graeme Raubenheimer, this is The Lead, and this is the South African story. Thank flip, the year's almost done, Jan.
Yeah, no, it was a long one, I'm glad it's over.
100%. Take us back to that moment when President Cyril Ramaphosa moved to fire the DA's Andrew Whitfield. Where were you at the time? What was going through your brain? Did you feel as if the GNU was about to implode? It's an unprecedented moment in the trajectory of this national coalition thus far.
Well, the day we heard about Whitfield's firing was actually the day when one of the budget bills were being debated in Parliament, and John Steenhuisen was angry. He came in, he wasn't scheduled to as a speaker, but he came in, you could tell he was not happy. But that bill passed. I mean, that was after already a problematic budget process. So they gave Ramaphosa an ultimatum, which was a weird move because you're asking somebody to not do something, and that person likes not doing something. So a few days later, and this is the thing that really stuck out for me, the DA had to say what's going to happen now. They gave Ramaphosa an ultimatum, and I remember it was a Saturday. It was the first Springbok game of the season, but 2 hours before that, the DA had the scheduled press briefing. So I was driving down here into town. This is it. Government's going to fall now because what other moves are there left for the DA? But then it was damp squib. They decided to they're not going to support the national dialogue, and they're not going to support some of the budgets, the departmental budgets, which they ended up supporting. But that was for me, that was this is it now. And there's been a few days this year where I felt like government is on the point of falling. But it never came to that.
Yeah, that or else DA ultimatum has never really stung in the sides of the ANC all that much. Yeah. What did become the DA sort of line is ANC needs to get rid of its corruption-accused ministers, right? And soon, Higher Education Minister Nobuhle Mkhwebane found herself in the crosshairs.
Yeah, and I mean, she made it easy for Ramaphosa to fire her. I mean, the way she acted in Parliament, she was an easy target. Also, she's not somebody. I mean, if they went after, say, Gweri Mantashe, I mean, Ramaphosa can't kick him out. I mean, that. If the DA didn't support all the budget votes, then we wouldn't have had a budget. I think we spoke about it sometime earlier this year, about the budget, and then just getting rid of Mkhwebane was enough for the DA to change the view and support all the budgets. So that was the, which saved the budget process and probably the coalition or the DA's participation in the GNU, because if they didn't support the budget, and Parliament couldn't pass a budget, the GNU couldn't pass its budget, then the ANC would probably move to kick them out. And that's the main thing that was going on here, is the DA don't want to move by their own accord, and the ANC doesn't want to kick them out. So you have this game of political chicken, and the people are caught in the middle.
Right, and of course it's quite well known at this point that the markets quite enjoy a DA-ANC configuration as opposed to what some are calling this doomsday coalition between the EFF and the ANC.
Yeah, well, and MK, but I didn't see that happening. Yeah, and that's also, I think, the main reason why we still have this GNU configuration, because I think both parties realize that the alternative is to, and that's also when the DA said it, they're in the GNU to keep the EFF and MKP out. because of the MKP is inherently corrupt. I mean, that's what they're doing. And the EFF has been proven at the least as an unreliable coalition partner, and also I've just read the book about Malema and his money things. So basically the typical extraction network type things. So I think that's the main thing that binds the GNU, especially the two biggest parties, the ANC and the DA, is that the alternative is worse.
Andrew Whitfield, what was his sin? He didn't tell President Cyril Ramaphosa that he was going on this particular trip to the United States. Is that right?
Yes, it was party political business. So it's not that the state paid, but when you're a member of the executive, like a minister or a deputy minister, you have to inform the president that you're going abroad. I mean, the president is your boss, basically. So, but then, according to the DA, Whitfield requested permission and he just didn't get it. Like radio silence from the presidency, so he went. That's against the backdrop where there is this tug of war between the DA and the ANC over control of the country's national international relations policy. So the DA wants more input, while the ANC is just nope, this is ours. That's the big problem with the ANC. There's certain things they just don't want to concede on, and for some reason, international relations is they're clearly not doing a good job with regards to America.
Or they're doing a great job in the eyes of the ANC's track record, because maybe they've wanted to pull this middle finger to the US for the longest time, and now they're getting to do it.
Yeah. Well, yes, but I mean, it's not giving us a trade deal. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so. And I mean, I suppose, part of me also wants to say, just write off, this orange man's America for the next few years. I mean, if you consider Whitfield's so-called transgression compared to the allegations of corruption against so many other ANC members of cabinet. And
let's talk about Nobuhle. What was she accused of? Of basically going through this CETA appointment process, of putting ANC-aligned figures into that particular panel without following due process, right?
Basically, but then, and I think that's what got her really, she basically allegedly lied to Parliament about it. And also,
and that's a no-no if we look at the test of time in South Africa, right?
I mean that's basically perjury. And also a general attitude towards Parliament was not good. I think in public as well. So, I mean, like I said, she was an easy one to get rid of. Also, she's not one of the major players in the ANC. So,
she was an easy pawn to just quickly move aside.
I mean, you can't get rid of Montage if you're the president of the ANC. Because then that caucus will turn on you with one caucus meeting with Montage addressing them, and you're gone. That guy doesn't play around.
Yeah.
So, and same with some of the other figures David Maglobo, the former spy minister, who just remains in the executive despite all these allegations. Pretty strong allegations in the Zondo Commission report. This guy just stays there. For why? I mean, but given his former position, you kind of figure this guy knows some stuff.
Okay, back to the budget. One of the sticking issues, of course, is that Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana suddenly felt like he was waking up one day and he went, I'm tired of austerity measures. I want to raise the VAT of this country, because if you look globally, proportionally, we're still quite low, and I think we're due in a big increase. So he saw what? He goes for 2% at first, Jan?
Yes.
And then we had to revise it, and then we, at the end of a very long and fraught process, thankfully didn't have a VAT increase.
Yes. I mean, that's, it's like a VAT increase would obviously affect every person who buys stuff, which is most people. So, and I mean, it became a bit out of the blue, and I thought the ANC, when I first heard, I think Sunday Times first reported that this is coming, I thought, no, the ANC won't do that so close to an election, shows you what I know. They went for it on the day after it was very strange, to have a budget sitting postponed. That was, a weird vibe in the tent and everything. So afterwards, the DA obviously claimed, it's they're doing, and then Kabuchi and Shaveni, Minister and President, was quick to know some ANC ministers also stopped it. But in any case, the point is, we had to go. Godongwana was sent to go draft another budget. So there were some intense negotiations, which resulted in a 0.05 percentage point.
1 year was, first year would be a 0.5% increase, and then the second year would be another 0.5% increase, would get the 1% that Gordon Gwana envisaged in his mind, right?
Yes. So again, that didn't work for especially the DA. The other GNU parties were like, okay, cool. The DA and the Freedom Front Plus were like, nope. So the DA went to court eventually. And after like a bruising day in court for Gordon Gwana, he basically made them a deal and scrapped the VAT increase, and we had a third budget.
Yeah, and
which was passed a bit smoother until Whitfield was fired.
And lead listeners, if you really want to get into the technical details of all of that, go back into the back catalogue. Probably around 100 episodes back with myself and Carol Payton. We did it stroke by stroke as the budget process was sort of continuing and being sort of dragged on. We spoke about every single sort of detail along the way. But what was interesting about this from a political perspective, Jan, is that we have the DA again in that sort of official opposition role of Helen Zille standing outside a police station going, we're going to take this matter to court, right? We hadn't seen that in a long time because of the GNU. Yeah,
but suddenly that little path between the police station and the parliament got trod again. They laid complaints against Nkabane as well. That came a bit later, but like when they went to court, the EFF actually joined them. Also, their participation in the debates and parliamentary processes was more like the old DA. My impression was that since the formation of the GNU, they were kind of like caught between, like what are they doing? Are they opposition? Are they government? And this budget process gave them their old voice back. And it's still continuing in some other regards as well. I thought it was quite significant that they managed to stop this VAT increase. It's like the first time the ANC didn't get its way, which is like, I think, quite significant.
Let's talk about Zille for a second. She's actually seen, according to at least Tony Leon, former DA leader, as a key recipe within keeping, or glue to keep that GNU together, that she's worked wonders in the background to ensure that egos are sort of deflated and that everybody can sort of talk about brass tack issues and get back to the main nexus points. Would you agree with something like that she brings the seniority?
Look, she is senior and she has a lot of experience in coalitions, when she was mayor. But, some of her remarks were also like, especially last year, was sometimes stirring the pot a bit unnecessarily. So I don't know. It's difficult to say what's happening in the back rooms. There was a time when I think the communication between the two parties weren't what it should have been, especially most of this, the drama in the GNU was between the ANC and the DA, the two biggest parties. I mean, it's the national case because they're the two centers of power, and the other parties are too small to really make a difference. So, I don't know how influential Zille herself is. I mean, it's like she's still representing the party, and they have members in government and in parliament. I think sometimes some people overestimate Helen Zille's role in everything.
Yeah, I was about to say, perhaps to a certain degree her role has been overstated. Yeah. You know what I mean? Who are those other ANC corruption accused ministers that at the time, we're talking about the first half of 2025, that you felt like the DA were insistent on that they needed to see the back of them in order for the GNU marriage to continue in some sort of good health?
Simelane, the minister, she was initially appointed as justice minister. Then she got embroiled in the VBS scandal, thanks to reporting of our very own Carl Cohen and Daily Maverick. And then Ramaphosa moved it to human settlements. I mean that's another indication of why the DA said there's double standards, and I tend to agree with them. Like, this guy flies to America, gone. Like, you get like pretty hectic allegations of being involved in the VBS scandal while you're justice minister, and you get moved portfolio. So yeah, I think she was the main. I don't want to. I mean, there's such a long list of ANC ministers and deputy ministers involved that I can't recall which ones they focused on. I think it was Maglobo as well.
We obviously talk about deputy state. former State Security Minister,
Yeah.
David Mashlobo. What's he the deputy of now?
Water and sanitation.
That's right. Of course, he's been connected to the whole saga in regards to Zuma's former super spy, Thulani Dlomo, and the massive slush fund at the SSA that had been looted during the Zuma administration years, which is now sort of coming to the fore. How interesting is that saga? Hey?
Yes, I suspect we're going to see a bit more of that hopefully in the coming months.
There's this clearinghouse mechanism, Jan, within the GNU. Like, that previously was basically a mechanism to say, if we're having an issue, let's all have a cup of tea and really hash this thing out. What does that mechanism really actually technically say? And I understand it's got a little bit more teeth now. Is that right?
I don't want to call it teeth. It's a bit more formalized now. So it was established about towards the end of last year when the DA was unhappy about the Bela Bill, I think, or the implementation of the Bela Bill. In any case, so it was basically where the leaders of all the parties come together. It was chaired by, it still is chaired by Paul Mashatile, Deputy President, and then they would hash things out, come to an agreement. It wasn't really working. Like, several leaders from several parties said it wasn't really working. Then about a year later, I can't recall the exact, I think it was in October this year or early November, they actually got like a terms of reference, basically explaining, setting out how they're going to work, how they're going to reach consensus. So I wouldn't call it teeth, but everybody seems to be a bit happier about it now. I don't think it has been tested properly. If it was better functioning, the whole budget drama would probably have gone a bit smoother. But yeah, I think it's part of, and I mean, there was also like a meeting between Ramaphosa and all the other party leaders, which was also something a lot of the GNU members complained about. It's like they're not speaking to each other. So these things are starting to come together a bit more. At the moment, the GNU is probably in better state than it was a year ago. There's also like a school of thought that perhaps people overestimate the impact of disagreements in the GNU, and I mean the fact that it's still here, which suggests that it's a bit stronger than I thought, certainly, on that rainy afternoon when I wanted to watch rugby.
Right. But again, I mean, Jan, it's also only the first year, right? And we're heading to local government elections next year. That is going to bring its own political spiciness along the way. And of course, the slinging of mud will only intensify on a local government scale. And I can't help but feel some of that mud will find its way on a national scale as well, will it not?
Definitely. I mean there's always contestation between the DA and the ANC. The DA also, I think, will upset the smaller GNU partners because they always go on about small parties. They call them popcorn parties and have all kinds of weird names for them. So that's not going to help either. Besides that, the DA is going to have a leadership election in March or April, and that could influence the dynamics if they get like a different type of leader. Unclear how it will influence the GNU, but I suspect it would. The ANC is also entering that leadership campaign phase, even though the elective conference is only in 2027. So that's also going to play, because there is still, in both parties, there is like groupings who are not happy about being part of the GNU. And these things will bubble to the surface in leadership elections. So, there's more turmoil on the way, probably.
And who's to say that the national budget process again won't be fraught if the ANC finally decides that it wants to, bring another contentious policy element to that.
Yeah.
Or, the MKP, as we've seen in the final death throes of this year's national budget process, were just in jail, voting against everything just to be an irritant as the official opposition. I think we can't count that out as well.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't even have to be the budget. It could be something else. Like, for instance, the DA is strongly opposed to black economic empowerment. They have their own bill. And, stuff like that can also be used as a way to get rid of them, as an excuse to get rid of them by the ANC, saying, like, these guys are actively campaigning against our government policy. So it can be... I mean, the DA can decide to go after the corrupt ministers again, and I don't see Ramaphosa moving against them. So there's a lot. It doesn't only have to be the budget process. There's a lot of things that can be used to to start a fight in the GNU.
Jan, are you ready for this part of the show?
No.
I'm calling it Roby's Round Robin. I'm going to throw 10 questions at you over the next short while. Please be prepared to answer them quite effectively to Jan Gerber's best ability. It's mostly news related, but most importantly, it's fun and flippant.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
What's the one South African scandal you still want answers to in your lifetime, Jan?
Pala.
Okay, why?
Well, I mean, nothing adds up with what the president told us about what happened there. Just random dollars in your couch, come on.
If you could put one politician on airplane mode for a month, who would it be?
Can I say all of them? Let's go with Mbalula.
Sure, okay.
The man can speak a lot without saying much, you know.
He's the king of padding. Which press conference in 2025 emotionally harmed you the most? I think I know the answer.
Yeah, the one where I thought government was falling and it wasn't, and it was organized 2 hours before the first Springboks game. And I wasn't even working that weekend, but I thought they should come in.
Yeah, I thought
and then it was a damn squib. It was, you know.
This was the DA one with Helen Zille and John Steenhuisen, which you just spoke about. I thought you were going to mention the Parley inquiry into the Madlanga revelations.
Well, that's not the press conference.
Yeah, true, but
no, I mean, I don't even want to speak about that now. It's over for the year. I'm not thinking about that for the moment.
Who's your favorite News 24 colleague? Be biased.
Karen Moon.
Okay, why?
Because she's going to hurt me if I say anything else. No, we're good friends and we work well together.
What's the one story in South Africa this year that deserved a Netflix docu-series?
Well, I think obviously the Mkhwanazi allegations. I mean, that's mental.
Which South African song would be the soundtrack to your journalism career?
Volk of Politieke Ligstering.
I knew you were going to say Volk of Politieke. Either that of Van Koketal of Jewels Fantasties of ietsie soos dat.
Yeah.
Lekker. I'm more of a Van Coke guy. If you were forced to embed with one government department for a year, which one do you think you would survive the longest in?
Would they survive me? I don't know. Let's go with the presidency.
Sure, you went for a difficult one. I was going to choose like arts and culture or something like that.
I will not survive very long with Clayton McKenzie.
Sure, okay. You have one wish for South African journalism in 2026. What is it?
More journalists on the ground and more variety in terms of like new publications and just more journalism, more good journalism, you know.
All Jan Gerber wants for Christmas is?
A holiday.
Fill in the blank. Final question. South Africa will officially be okay when?
We're okay already. Not really. No. When I think citizens become more empowered than politicians.
Your final thoughts for 2025, Jan Gerber?
I'm glad it's over. May 2026 be a bit better.
And I'll see you then on the lead. Bye, Dankie. Remember, so long as there's trusted news first, you'll always have the lead on News 24. Here's to an epic 2026.